Hi, this is Glenn Livingston with some really good news. And the good news is that 99% of your competitors are using the wrong information when they're making split testing decisions at Google. Here's what I mean, and here's why you can use that to your advantage, to your tremendous advantage. The thing is that Google's got everybody focused on click-through rate. What's your click-through rate? Beat your click-through rate, beat your click-through rate. Now recently, actually I'm getting old, it's not so recently, but they've been allowing you to track conversion for quite some time. And that's important also because now you can tell, for example, if you're split testing two ads, which ad got a better conversion rate. In other words, when they got to your website, which one of them actually bought more than the other. Because sometimes the ad with the higher click-through rate actually gets a lower conversion. In this example, ad number 2 had a almost 7% click-through rate and only a 1% conversion when they actually got to the site. Whereas ad number 1, which was our control, had a 2% conversion, almost a 2% conversion when they got to the site. So even though we bumped our click-through rate by a little bit, lost out because approximately half as many people were buying. So that's kind of easy to see visually, and most people would intuitively understand that. But this is all the information. This information in these 4 boxes is really what you get actually. They give the impressions and the clicks as well. But this is really the information that you're going to be seeing at Google, right? What you really need to do is figure out how to combine all this into one number that'll tell you which ad won. And the interesting thing is, if you combine things into one number, what you're really doing is what I believe Google does themselves when evaluating which ads to show to make Google the most money. Now, doesn't it make sense to you that you should be watching the same numbers that Google is watching to figure out which ads are going to make more money? Let's talk about that for a second. What does Google have to sell? What Google has to sell are impressions. They've got space on their advertising page. They've got a limited number of space. When someone searches, there's only 11 pieces of real estate on that page. They've got to sell them. They need to sell them to advertisers who get people to click because Google doesn't get paid unless people click. So what Google does is, and this is my opinion, no one knows this for sure, but I can't say how they're doing anything else. They've got to combine all the data behind the scenes to calculate how much money they're going to make per impression of your ad if they decide to show your ad. And that's how they compare ad to ad to ad. Now, of course, they have some comparisons for quality and they've added some other things to their formula. But by and large, if they're going to be profitable, they've got to know how much money are they going to make per impression of your ad. Now, doesn't it make sense that if Google is paying attention to how much they make per impression of your ad, that you should also know how much money you're making per impression of an ad? And that way you're evaluating the same thing that Google is, and you're making decisions so that you make the most money per impression of your ad. You only want the ad to show that's going to make you the most money for every time that it's showing, right? That only makes logical sense. But it gets very confusing because there's all these different metrics showing, all these different numbers, and people don't know how to combine them. And so here's what I did in this example, and you can download this spreadsheet and use it to your heart's desire. Let's assume that I'm selling a $20 ebook, and it's going to cost me about, in this case, let's say I'm saying it by PayPal, maybe it's going to cost me a whole buck to process it. Don't argue with me about that. Let's just assume it does for simplicity. And so I'm going to make $19 in my bank every time someone makes a sale. Now, when you enter your profit margin here, I want you to enter the margin after deducting all your variable costs, but not your advertising costs. So this profit margin notably doesn't include what I'm going to pay for pay-per-click ads. If I had to ship something to someone, and if it cost me money for, producing a product and actually getting it out the door, I would include all that and reduce my profit margin accordingly. So if this were a physical product and I was selling it for $20, maybe my profit margin would be 10. You get the idea. So put that in there. And then all you need to do is enter the impressions, clicks, click-through rate, and conversion, all the stuff in blue. You just need to enter that data, which is what Google gives you. Enter that for the ads that you're testing. And now what I've done here in the spreadsheet is made some calculations for you. The first calculation is how many clicks is it taking you to make a sale? This is just to make it really easy to see how much it's going to cost you per sale. In this case, it's taking 52 clicks. All I did is I divided 100 by this number here, and you get 51.5 clicks. Actually, you divide the number 1 by that percentage for those of you who want to be technical. And you know that if 2% of the people are clicking, that means it takes you 50 clicks to get a sale, right? Okay, if it takes you 50 clicks to get a sale, and your cost per click is 5 cents, then multiply those out, and it's going to cost you $2.58 in traffic costs to make a sale. Well, if you're making $19 on every sale in profit, and it costs you $2.58 in traffic costs, then your net profit per sale is $16.42. Now, on the number of impressions here, in this particular example, I'm showing 50,000 impressions. Don't worry if these impressions aren't exactly equal, that's okay. I just made them equal for illustration. And in this example, let me move my cursor all the way over here. On 50,000 impressions, with our conversion rate and our cost per sale, we're going to make 48.5 sales. And since we know we're making $16.42 per sale, we multiply that by the number of sales. And we see that the total profit we're making on that 50,000 impressions is $796.50. Well, if that's our total profit on those number of impressions, and we know how many clicks we got because we know what our click-through rate is, then we can determine what our profit per click is. That's a number that's nice to see because it tells you about what you can afford to pay per click. But really, when we're making the decision about which ad we want to pick as the winner, we are going to choose the one that gives us the most profit. It's really the most profit per impression, but since everybody in the advertising world talks about advertising in terms of groups of 1,000 impressions, I've done the math for you. And you'll see that here, for every 1,000 impressions, I am making $15.93 of profit. Of actual profit, I'm making $15.93. And you'll see that that's greater than the other ad, which is making only $12, even though the other ad has a higher click-through rate. So I'm making my decision based upon the profit per 1,000 impressions for each particular ad. A couple of really important things when you're running this type of a analysis. One is that, remember when I told you that when you're doing split testing, that you want to wait until you've got at least 30 clicks on the lower performing ad? Well, in this case, you want to make sure that you've got at least 30 sales or 30 conversions. If you can do this analysis for opt-ins also if you assign us a dollar value to every opt-in, and you have to do the math for your own business to make that happen. But you want to make sure you've got at least 30 sales on the lower performing ad, and by that I mean the one that performs lower in terms of the number of sales. Make sure you've got at least 30 sales before you make this decision. So you might be thinking this is a little more work. It is a little more work, but let's say you're in a market and you've got, 1 million impressions a month. Well, if you're making an extra $3 on every 1,000 impressions, then you're going to make an extra $3,000 a month, right? Because there's 3,000 times 1,000 is 1,000 times 1,000 is 1 million impressions. That little margin, by making the right decision here, instead of choosing just based on click-through alone, that's going to make you an extra $3,000 a month. And certainly you're in a market that has 1 million impressions a year, right? I hope you are. So over the long run, this extra 10 minutes that I took to make this decision makes me more and more and more profitable than my competitors. You know what that means? It means I can outbid them. It means that I can stay on Google longer. It means that I can get better position, more traffic for less money, sell more customers. I'm a happy guy. So go ahead and download this. Try to make your split testing decisions using this. The exception might be if you've got a very close conversion rate, and when the conversion rates are very close and the click-through rates are disparate, if they're different, then you can just go ahead and pick the higher click-through rate winner. But when you've got a clear difference in conversions and the higher click-through rate ad is showing a lower level of conversions, then you want to run this spreadsheet to make sure you're choosing the right one. Okay, this is Glenn from Pay-Per-Click Toolbox, signing out. I sound like a DJ, right? Okay, thanks.